Hey, it's June 26, 2021. Gonna take a look at the Haskaps. The last video I posted was a couple years ago, and I've had some good growth of these bushes, and I've learned a lot more about growing them as well too. So these berries are super early. They're the first, I shouldn't say the first, they're one of the earliest berries that we get. But you got to keep them blue for a really long time. You let them hang on a bush for a long time, they're quite sour and maybe a little bit bitter if you just eat them as soon as they turn blue. These ones have actually been blue since late May, so coming close to 4 weeks we've been letting them hang blue. And the only way you can do that without the birds eating them all is to net them. So if you've been eating Haskaps or honeyberries and not really liking the taste, maybe it could be the variety, or it could be that you're just not letting them hang on the bush long enough and actually ripen. So to keep the birds out, I've got this 6 foot tall by 6 foot wide by 6 foot long, sections, and then it goes all the way down past all my Haskaps, and a net's hanging over it. So yeah, last time you might have seen these are just in the grass and the lawn and a lot of weeds. So now I've put down cardboard and wood chips and some bark on top of that wood chips as well too, so it's really suppressed the weeds. It's kept the ground a lot more moist. It's been a dry season, but all that wood chips and bark has kept the ground moist, and Haskap's kind of like that. Their natural habitat is often swampy areas and wetlands of northern Canada and Japan and Russia. So we'll come in for a closer look. Some of these bushes are quite old. I think 8 years old or 9 years old. 2013, I think the biggest ones were planted. This one's Aurora. It's probably about 5 feet tall. Loaded in berries. If we come down here, you can see them everywhere. These ones are relatively small, like when you see some of the other ones. Actually, those aren't too bad. But yeah, these have been hanging for close to 4 weeks. Really purple inside, and they taste excellent. Well, actually that one's still a little bitter. We'll take a look at all these here. Aurora is good. It's the biggest bush and probably has the most fruit on it. But I've got some better varieties now. This one was supposed to be a Borealis. It's a couple years younger. I think it might have been in 2014 or 15. But the berries are quite small compared to my other Borealis, and they don't taste as good, so I'm not sure it is a Borealis. Again, it's loaded too, a little bit smaller. This one's probably 4 feet tall or 3.5. This one is honeybee. It was touted as a pollinator. I have so many varieties now that you wouldn't really need a pollinator anymore. They taste fine, but they're really more bred for their pollinating capacity, and their flowerings overlap the other varieties by a lot, so it's good at pollinating all varieties, and the berries are okay. Yeah, they're fine. This is a true Borealis. The next two here. This one's just as old as that first Aurora I showed you, so 8 or 9 years old, but it's still very small compared to the Aurora. And this Borealis is a little bit younger, but massive berries on it. Quite big, and they're really good tasting. Yeah, much more mild and much better taste than, and these are really big. Very good. Again, they've been hanging for 3 to 4 weeks, closer to 4 weeks. So you have to let them do that before they're going to taste well. At first glance, it doesn't look like there's a lot, but when you get down underneath here, you can really see how loaded this thing is underneath the leaves. You can see the bark I've put down here, and I've run a drip line. There's an irrigation drip line here. So it's going to keep this stuff nice and moist, and now it's going to keep the grass competition down. So I've had much better growth in the last couple of years than I did in my first 5 years when I just had these planted in the lawn. I do have some chicken wire at the back there. It keeps out the birds. It allows my net to reach all the way over to the ground on the other side, and then I don't have to go to the ground onto the back. And that keeps out chipmunks and robins and waxwings. So these 5 back here are older, and these varieties all bloom in, or fruit in June. The fruit is ripe in late June for me. And then these varieties are younger. The first 2 here were planted in 3 years ago, and then I planted the back 2 this year. So they've all had quite a bit of growth, but these are later bearing varieties that ripen in July. And so I'm not going to eat these yet. These are even bigger than the Borealis. These are massive sized berries. I don't know if you can see some of these. So even though they're blue, they're not going to be ready for another probably 2 to 3 weeks. I believe this one was it was a blizzard, and this one is a beauty. And the beauty berries are even bigger again yet. Like it's wider than my finger, that berry. These are all July ripening for me. And then I have a beast and another beauty down there. So they were just planted this year. They do have a couple fruits on them. And you can see in their 3rd year, these actually were very small when I planted them, but in their 3rd year they really are producing a lot of fruit. And you can get them if you net them. If you don't net them, you're just not going to get very much, and they're going to get taken before they're fully ripe. Anyways, I've come to appreciate Haskap some more and more every year. I've been planting more. I'm kind of out of the end of the space in this row. So now 9 bushes along here, and I know from last year that the newer ones are the Beast and the Beauty. The July ripening ones actually taste a little bit better than these older varieties. Anyways, if you've given Haskaps a try and didn't really like the taste, try netting them and waiting a lot longer for that fruit to sit on the bush and fully ripen, and then you'll probably come around on them a little bit more. I hope this helps. Thanks.